Hello and welcome to Android P. So now that we know that Android P has recently released, let's know a little bit more about Android P. So about Android P, the developer preview released in March 2018, and that's when I'm recording this particular series. Is scheduled to release, scheduled release set for around Q3 or let's say fall of 2018. Lots of new features in API, and we'll probably look through some of them in a little while. There's a lot of security updates. There's also something called as autofill framework, and it's much more helpful. You'll probably read about that too. Next, the required tools that we need to set up and write some code is Android Studio 3.2, which is the Canary version right now. That's what Google calls its pre-release version. They call it Canary version. There's also Canary, Chrome Canary. So this will be used to kind of build preview apps for Android P, and then we need a pixel emulator or device. You can actually use a device to run your application or a pixel emulator, and that's what we'll be using in this particular course. Let me show you some of the things. So this is the home page for our Android P developer preview version. You can read things about it, about how to, so I've covered most of my things since there's not much information out there. I went through this website and looked at some of the things that we can do. As per programming overview goes, it has its timeline and updates of when the final release, as I mentioned, somewhere in the fall or before that, they'll have the preview release, and they also do incremental releases. So as and when years go by, months go by, we'll have a better version available, so you can kind of test your apps that you already have or build some new apps that focus on the new APIs that they have. And we can also look at how to get it. So you can get your Android P version here, which I'll have shown in a separate video. Also you can, if you have a device, one of the Pixel devices, you can flash your device to have. So these are the devices that are supporting Android P, so you can download them and flash them. There is also how to set up your, as I mentioned, you need Android Studio 3.2, and we'll see that in a future video. Next, migration guide. They have a migration guide of how they are planning to do it, and you can actually accordingly change your applications or test your application based on this migration plan and publish your application when it's available for release. So I would always recommend just make sure you install your Android Studio 3.2 as a separate version instead of on top of your existing one, because if you want to publish something before Q3, you don't want to download it again and then build your application. Some of the feature APIs, as I mentioned, there's indoor positioning with Wi-Fi RTT, where you can actually track a user as and when he's walking through a mall or through his home or anywhere. So this is something that can be very useful in future, just tracking users, kind of advertising based on that. I can think of a million ideas right there. Then we also have display cutoff support. This is a feature where the screen actually goes all the way to the top, and there's a notch where it's something similar to what Apple came out with in iPhone X, and there might be some features that feature devices like Pixel might come with that similar thing. And we have notification. Now we have images and things. We'll see some of the examples with this in this particular video series. We have some security updates. You can read through them. It's based on the fingerprint authentication. You make sure, so information is always important, and as and when Android is growing, they're coming up with new features for that. There's also some updates with, if you see, to key store, and how you can use Android in enterprise world. As we know, both Apple and Android are trying to fight to get into the Android market and the enterprise market, and making sure that they have their presence in most devices. That's the next generation of mobile devices. That's something that is been untapped. Previously it was tapped by BlackBerry, and it was pretty prominent, and now slowly Android and iPhone are trying to get into there. Next we have autofill frameworks. It has its own metrics, input sanitization, UI improvements, data set. So there are a bunch of different things that are coming up with that autofill framework. We can also look at behavioral changes, feedback, and you can read all these things, and some of these things I'll also cover in my future videos, this particular course, and I'll keep on updating as and when the new updates come up. As and when they come up, slowly grow, I'll probably update my videos as and when I find something new. So that's it for the introduction of Android P, and let's get started. Prerequisites for this particular course. So what do you need to learn Android P? Now you need to know a lot of things for this, because if you're not familiar with different Android versions or how it evolved, this course is only going to focus on some of the new features that Android P came out with, and I'm only going to cover those. I have other courses that I have which cover Android from end to end, but this course is only for Android P and its new features, and I'm going to update this course as and when Android P is implemented. So this class talks a lot about new classes and objects that Android P has come out with. So all you need to know for this particular course is core Java. You don't need anything else. Having some Android experience helps, so having the knowledge of previous Android, but what I'm going to cover, or whatever is covered in this particular curriculum, you need to understand only core Java and how it works. And if you have experience with Android, that's good. If you don't, you can still look at what are the new features that are available in Android for this particular course. So that's all that I'm gonna talk about for prerequisites. There's nothing special that it's just basic Java that we use for Android. It's just the special classes that are available in Android that lets you do all the different things. So the classes kind of help you, and that's what we'll see. All the classes help you do all the amazing things that Android P as a new platform brings in. Course projects. So where can you find all the projects that we do in this particular application? Now, first of all, you have to follow the next few steps to make sure that you have all the required tools like Android Studio, which is compatible with Android P, and you need to set up your emulator or have a device which has Android P installed on it. I know that right now we can only have Android P installed on Pixel devices, which is not that safe, not that stable, but still, if you have an extra device, you can add that and then play around with the projects that we have. All the projects that I do in this particular course are attached with your videos, and also if you want to go somewhere, you can go to my GitHub page, and inside that /AndroidP, and that's where I will keep all the different projects that I'm going to build for Android P. So this is where you can find all the course projects and download them and play with them. If they don't run or have any issues, let me know in the comments and I'll see what the problems are. And as and when there's updates, I'm gonna make sure that these projects are updated and I keep them there, and you can always come back and see for these projects. Installing Android Studio. So the first thing that we need to play with applications is to install Android Studio. So let's go to a browser, search for Android Studio. The first link will take you to this website. Now this one will get you the Android Studio for the current version. So what you need is something for the new version P. So what you do is you click on preview and you get a Canary version here, and the current Canary version is 7, says download 3.2, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on this and download. First thing it asks me is to look at the terms and conditions. So I've already read this, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll say accept and download. Next it's going to give me install options, and there you go, it starts downloading. It's going to take some time to download. Also it gives you some more options of what do you do next, what to do. So that's what you can get here. So let me download this and then we'll get back to this. So what it says here is install a preview version of Android Studio. It tells you where you can save it. You can save at the same time. If you have already something that you're using for production version, you can also create a separate folder and then save it along with it. So it gives you all these instructions how to do that. So I already have, looks like it's downloaded. So I'm going to go and click on this link. It's a zip file, so it will probably unzip. So now that we have our Android Studio downloaded, this is what you'll get. I can click on it and it will open it. Of course, it shows the classic golden color of Canary versions that they have. It's gonna look at everything. It will say, okay, do you want to open it? I'm gonna go ahead and click open. And now it's gonna ask me, do you want to import your settings? I'll say do not import settings. I'm gonna keep it clean and separate. And there you go. Welcome Android Studio. It's gonna run the wizard. You can say standard or custom. If you select custom, you can say what you want. I'm gonna just keep it standard. Use the color scheme here. Next, and it has all these options available. I'm going to say finish, and it's going to start downloading all these extra plugins that Android Studio needs, and that's it. And then we'll open and start installing other SDKs. So now that it has completed downloading all the components, we'll see a preview of everything here, and then it says Android SDK is up to date, and I can click finish, and we have our first screen where it says start a new project, and it's installed. Looks like everything is good. Let's go and start a new Android Studio project. So you can enter your name of the application. I'm going to call it Hello World. Our first project always. You can give your company domain. I'm going to give here my website, and what it will do is it will take this and make the package name, which is com.vivinarana.helloworld. Also, it will ask me where do I want to save it. I'm gonna save it here. It says do you want to include C++ support, include Kotlin support? I don't need that right now. I just say next. It will ask me what do you want to support. Since I am not going to support anything older, I'm going to just make sure that it supports the P preview. It will change later on. You probably might see more numbers here, but I'm going to just say the P preview. But it's always good to support a couple of versions behind, or depending on what your policies, you can do that. But for this one, I'm just going to select this and include Android Instant App support. I don't need that right now, and I'm not going to support anything else. No Wear, no TV, no auto, and no things. So I'm going to just leave it to that phone and tablet app. Next, I'm going to select a template here, a bunch of different templates. I'm going to just for this project, I'm going to say basic activity. Next, it will ask me what is the name of the activity that you want to give. I'm going to say main activity. Layout file is the file where you draw your UI in XML, so that's drag and drop to. And the title of the page, I'm going to say the title of the page is Hello World, and I'm not going to create a fragment. Let's go next. It will do all the things that are required to set this up, and done, finish. And this will load our application. So it says welcome to Android Studio 3.2. You can look at the tips if you want to go over them, or you can just check this box here and say I don't want to see tips anymore and close this. So there you go. It's always the first project always takes a little bit time to set up, but once it's set up, it's pretty quick. So I'm going to let it sit here and then set up everything, and there you go. My project has started. I can go ahead and look at my SDK options. So let's go to Tools, SDK Manager, and here I can have SDK platform. So I'm going to go ahead and install Android pre-preview version. I'm going to go to SDK Tools and make sure that this is checked and click Apply. So this will say that these are the things that I need to be installed, and it will start installing. It will ask me to make sure that I accept. I can go ahead and accept individually, or I can select this and accept both of them together and click next. This will start downloading my Android P version and also the SDK Tools 28 release candidate 1. So now that the downloads have been done, I'm going to go finish and say okay, everything looks good. So now I have everything that I need to build Android P projects. Now the next thing that we need is a emulator. So let's see what do we have. So the basic instinct is just go to run the application. When I run the application, it says I don't have any device. I don't have a hardware device. I don't have a emulator connected. So what I can do is I can create a virtual device. I'm going to select a phone and I'm going to go for Pixel 2, and next when I go there, it says do you want to download API level P. I'll say download this because that's what I need. It's going to download. It's going to say okay, accept, next. So it's just going to be a bunch of steps that you'll have to follow just as and when you go, and there might be changes as and when they come up with newer versions. So for now I'm just going to download this. Now that I've completed the download for the emulator, to finish and select this, next. Now I can give it a name that's good enough. pixel 2, P on it, portrait, landscape, finish. So this will create my Android emulator and run the application on it. Okay, so now we have our Pixel 2 device ready. We click OK. And we have our device up and running. It's going to take a few minutes to start up because this is the first time we are starting the emulator. And there you go, our application is up and running. It says hello world. It has that small icon over here, has the menu bar on the top with just the settings. It's just the same Android Pixel device that is there. So that's our first application. So you have all the things that you need to start programming in Android P now, emulator as well as our Android Studio 3.2. Android Studio walkthrough. Now that we have installed Android Studio and have the setup ready, and we also saw how to run a project on emulator, let's walk through the actual Android Studio that we have, the 3.2 version, and see what's new and what's happening. So if you see here, the current version that I've downloaded is 3.2 Canary version 7. There might be more and newer updates as when you look at this particular video. You can start a new project. You can open an existing Android Studio project. If you have downloaded some of my course projects, you can click here and then kind of point it where they are and then open those projects. You can check out projects from version control. If you're directly forking out from my particular GitHub, you can do that from here. You can profile or debug an APK file that you got from somewhere else. If someone shared your APK file because they're not comfortable sharing their code with you, you can do that here. Import project and import an Android code sample. So these are similar things that we had before. You can configure your all the different items here. Whatever you have, you can get some help. You want to know more about things, how Android Studio works, you want to see more than what I've covered here, you can always click on that and it will give you a walkthrough of that. Even though if you see here, it will walk through to the Android Studio, not the preview version. Preview version you'll probably have to see here of what have they added along with this particular Android Studio. So when you start a new project, it will kind of give you an example for creating a new project. It will say, oh, what is the name of the project? You can give your company domain, bunch of different. It also has support for C++ and Kotlin. I know some people like to write code in C++ or Kotlin, which is new to Android, and you can use these to kind of write your application that way. You can write your application to support different devices if you want, and have this. I'm going to go a little fast because I don't need this. It also has a bunch of templates here for your projects, which we'll look at during the project walkthrough. But right now I'm just going to walk through the Android. So I'm going to finish, and you have your project here opened up with all the different. It takes a little bit time and sets up everything. As an IDE, it's pretty awesome. It's works pretty fine. You have all these different shortcuts available for different things to do, like running the application. It's better to learn shortcuts so you don't have to go up top and then run this application. There's a lot of different features available. You can look at all these things. You can go to SDK manager, see if there's anything updates, new things came out. You can add those things. Now I have installed Android P preview and it says partially installed, so that means there's some more changes maybe that came up while I'm recording this video. So if you see, they're kind of pushing out things as and when they come out. And you can also have debug mode here, so you can debug your applications using this. If you want to look at more on how to use all those tools, you can look at some of my other Android videos. Other than that, a lot of different options available here, and you can look at those things. Your project is either I look at in the project mode or I look in Android mode. Android mode just shows you whatever you want to see and nothing extra, and your project mode shows you a little bit more than that. You can always go and set up your new emulators. You can go to this AVD manager, set up this, and we'll look at more on this emulator that I've created inside our emulator walkthrough. And yeah, again, you can look at your preferences, check for updates directly from here, have your preferences change of how you want appearance of your Android Studios, what are toolbars you want to see, if there's system settings, that whatever you want, you get to see them all over here. Some people like to see line numbers, some people don't like to see line numbers. You can change all these things from here. You can add everything that you want to each and every minute details. It's a good idea to look at these settings before you start. Some of the editor options are right here for your editing mode, what styles you want, what spellings, what font, all these things are available here. I always say that make sure you go through each and every option once before you set up your environment, so in future if you want to change something, you know where exactly it is and you are comfortable with what you're programming with. So that's an Android walkthrough, Android Studio walkthrough, so you get an idea of how Android Studio works. Get familiar with it. Get familiar with the bottom part where it shows you logcat and logs of whatever you're doing as and when you run your application. So it kind of gives you a good help while you're programming, and you don't have to try to figure out where they are. So whenever you get some time, go into Android Studio and try to learn all these things. So that's our Android Studio walkthrough. Android project walkthrough. So now we saw how Android Studio works. Let's look at a project that we have. Now again, there are a bunch of different templates available that Android provides you. So when you're creating an Android project, it will ask you which type of project that you want to make. So if you see here, they have a basic activity, no activity. Activity is nothing but a page inside an Android application. If you're familiar with iOS, it's like view controller. If you're familiar with Xamarin, it's like a page. If you're familiar with HTML, it's just like one single page that you made. So every single thing is called an activity inside Android. Again, bottom navigation activity, so you get a bottom navigation activity available with this. You get an empty activity, just a basic activity, but there are no toolbar for support, no extra button at the bottom. Then you have login activity with the login screen already designed for you. Google Maps activity, it adds a Google Maps for you. All you have to do is like add your APIs and attributes to it, and it is ready to go. You have, if you're planning to add ads to your application, then I would say look at Google AdMob ads. Again, you'll have to sign up for AdMob on their website, and then come back and include your API keys or the client keys. Full screen activity will have an activity that will cover the entire screen, as you see here. Then we have master detail flow, where you have, especially for tablets, you have left side which has a index type of section and more of a detail on the right side. We have navigation drawer, which is quite a lot used these days. Instead of having a navigation somewhere else, it's hidden on the left side. You click on it, it just comes out, or you can drag it out. So that's something that is very useful. Your scrolling activity, where you'll see like an image on the top, and then you have a scroll bar with all the content in there, and as in when you scroll up or down, these things get hidden. You have settings activity, which kind of is helpful if you're making a settings page. You can start with that. And a tabbed activity, where you have a bunch of different tabs available, where you can swipe left or right, not like Tinder, but swipe right and left, and you have a bunch of different activities available for you, and you can go back and forth between them. I'm going to go over the project by using a simple basic project. Let us set it up. Once it sets up, what I'm going to do is I can go over this. Now it's in Android mode, so there are two different options. Project mode is something that you'll see, it's exactly same as if I go reveal in Finder, you'll see my application too, and whatever it has here, it's exactly representation of the project over there. So it will have all the different files in that particular order. But if you don't want to see everything, only the thing that you need, you can just say Android. Inside that, there's the app folder, there's Gradle script, which is used for more of building your projects, so I'm not going to look at that. But you have your manifest file, which is more like talks about the entire application. It tells the device while installing what all things is this application using. So that's the manifest file. You have all your Java files over here, which is, since in this case we have one activity, it will display that activity over here. It has some code added to it, which you might need or might not need. These are for all the menu bar and top items, where when you have the options on the top right, it creates an option menu for you, and you can click on that and it will show you what is there based on main menu. And that main menu is again inside the menu. So this is where it picks up the items from. What happens in Android is whenever you add some files, they are kind of represented. It's more like when you enter to a particular place, you are given a name or a ID or role. So it's this r.menu.menu main is an ID for that particular file. So that's how each and every file is mapped. Even if you have drawable files, if I want to reach this file, all I have to do is say r.drawable.ic launcher. So everything is represented in Java code with a particular ID for each and every file. So that's how that works. So let's go back. Main activity is the code for the main page. Then we have inside resources, we have drawable files. All the images, usually I put it in map images, or I'll pull it in drawable. And you can have different types of file depending on what all different resolution the device has. So you can provide all these things. If you're a programmer, you don't have to worry about it. Your graphics designer will provide all of these. If not, there's a bunch of different tools online where you can create one image, upload it, and then it will spew out all these different images for you. So then there's menu, there's layout file. This is the actual layout of the application. You can press design or text to see the design mode of how the application looks like. Or in this page, the activity main contains is the content main. So this is what is embedded inside this, and that's why you see this text. You have your side options here where you can select what you want, which item you want, and you can add that and have that particular item displayed here. Just for dragging a menu, but if I add a button, it will add up over there. You can remove that. And also values, these kind of where you define all different colors that you're using. You can add the colors at one place, give them a name, and then use throughout your application. So this is a good practice where you're kind of setting up your constants at one place and using them throughout the app. Similarly for dimensions, strings, if you're using hard-coded strings, it's good to use it here. What this does is, if you're using multiple languages, then you can have strings underscore Spanish SPES, and then have them used there. If you have different languages, French FR underscore FR, and use the same name, but the content that you display will be different. So it kind of takes care of it automatically depending on users settings. Then we have styles where you can have different color themes, and this is something that you can embed, and then during runtime you can change it based on, sometimes you see that apps have different colors depending on the season, depending on a particular day. So you can do those things through here. So this is the entire flow of the project, and we've gone through each and every file and looked at all the different files. And if you want to look more, you can look at the help section and see what all different and Android has good documentation on this. Or if you have any questions, ping me on this particular course and I'll reply back to your answer. Emulator walkthrough. Now Emulator comes built in with your Android Studio, and for this particular course I would recommend not using any third-party emulator or your own device, because you might not have Android P yet on the device or any of the third-party devices. So if you're not happy with this, you can look for options. But when you install Android Studio, which we saw before, it had Android P support for the Pixel devices that we installed, and this is how it looks like, and we have it already available. What you can do is you can run your application by pressing this play button, and when it runs, it will ask you which, and I've already said that install on this particular device, so it will be available on there, and it displays me the application. It's just like a device where you have back button, and there's no double click on this because there's no double tap on your device. You might have a long press and things like that, and depending on when you long press what you want, you can display it there. You can drag and drop things. You can look at the notification. If you see, it already has the display cutout being set up here. You can do that in developer mode. You can do all different things like turn on different options over here if you want airplane mode or not. If you want this to work on LTE mode or Wi-Fi mode, you can set those things here. You can bring this up and see all the different apps that are available for you. Settings is something that I would like you to go in and look for all the different options that you have available in the device. That's one good place to start. You can use the side action to increase the volume or reduce the volume. Since it doesn't have those hardware buttons, you can do this from here or from here. You can rotate the device orientation and then have fun with that. You can do both direction. You can try to take a screenshot of this image, and you'll see that I took a screenshot and saved it on my desktop. You can zoom in on that particular application, zoom out, and can have these hardware buttons that are available there right on the side, and then they will work similar way as they do over there. So if I press the back button, it will go back. So there's a bunch of different other options, like you can simulate. If you're playing with location based applications, you have that latitude longitude which you can set. There's a lot of different websites including Google Maps. So if I open Google Chrome and then say maps and open Google Maps, I can go to any location, right click on that, and right click on that particular location and ask what's here, and if you see at the bottom you get latitude and longitude. So that's how you can simulate the location here, and you can say, kind of say your network, what type of network you're using, signal strength, for testing performance of your applications. If you have some web services or something that you're calling, you can also have your charge level displayed in a different way based on to see how your device acts in different levels. You can have a phone come up on your application. I'm gonna side this so it shows how the phone comes up, and then you can hold call, answer call, do all these different things on the device, and you'll see the output over there again, call. So if you see the calls come up here, you can answer, hold call, end call, do whatever you want to do with that. Directional pad, you can have this where you can do things with moving around right left. If some devices have that, you can use microphone. It also has fingerprint over there. So if you have a device where you can set up on your computer, you can do that. You have virtual sensors, like you can kind of rotate, revolve the phone around and play around with it. So that's something that is very helpful if you're working with games or trying to see the location based on the directional X, Y and Z options. You can have bug reports on the application. You can record your screen as and when you're doing something. So when you're doing something on the device, you can record that and then stop recording and then play that whatever you recorded over there. Next is you can look at some more settings and then help. I'm not going to go over each and every part, but you can look at the shortcuts here. You can look at some of the settings option available. So this is your emulator walkthrough. Play around with this, see all the different options. Again, it's good practice to go over here and see all the different options available here, so in future you don't have to dig into it and then find it. So that's our emulator walkthrough. Notification with images. So initially we had notifications, different types of notifications, but we were not able to send images along with the notification or in the body of the notification. So what I've done is, in this particular section I divided into two parts. First I'm going to show you what simple notification that was there used to look like, and then I will add an image to the notification in the second part. So let's start with a simple notification of how it looks like. So I'm going to start with a brand new Android Studio project. I'm going to call it notification with image, since it's going to be one single project. Have everything set up right. Next, create my project for P. Next, I'm going to select a simple basic activity, main activity. I'm going to call it notification images, something like that. Finish. Have my application run. So I'm going to give it a couple of seconds for it to set up. At the same time, I'm going to keep both my simulator and my device here. Now if I run this application in this particular device, I'm going to say use same selection for future always, and run this application, and should install this application. Here it has the same basic files that it has. I'm going to make sure my content, my activity main and my main activity are open. I'm going to use them, and this is my application. I don't need all these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to content main, get rid of text view, go to activity main, get rid of my keep the toolbar. I'll remove the floating button which I don't need. Go to the main activity, get rid of all the menu options that we have, and also the floating action which I removed already. So just a toolbar code, and this code looks good. And I'm going to go back to my design layout here, increase this little bit just so that you can see what I'm trying to do. This particular application, I'm going to add a button on top. Let me run this application just with this button. It's gonna, I'm not given any constraints, and it's the constraint layout, so it's gonna just move this button all the way to the top and it will display there. So I'm gonna go here, go to the properties of the button, change this to notify button. Also go to the text and change this to, let's call it to notify button. So I have that button. I'm gonna go to my main activity here now, and let's add some so for notifications, what you have to do is you need something called as notification manager and a notification channel. So I'm going to start with a private static final string for my notification channel. I'm going to call that my notification channel, and I'm going to give it a name called as notification channel. This is more like a local notification that I'm going to build, where I click a button and it shows me a notification in the notification bar up above here. So right now there's no notifications, if you saw. Next thing, I need an instance of notification manager. I'm going to call it notification manager for now, keep it that, and go into the code part of it. Now I've added a button. Let's get access to that button. I'm going to call it button b equal to find view by id r dot id dot, and I called it notify button. So I'm going to get that. Make sure press alt and enter, import the class for button, and I have it. Everything is perfect. Next, I'm going to set event listener on this, on click listener, new view dot on click listeners. It's going to ask me when I press alt enter again, implement methods for this interface, and I have my on click method. So whenever this button is clicked, what should happen? I'm going to say fire notification. That's what I'm going to call it. And instead of writing our entire code here, I'm going to create a method inside my main activity, a private method, and every time the button is clicked, this function will be called. Right now there's nothing inside it, so it will not do anything. And when I fire a notification, it will take my notification channel and then set it up. So before doing any of that, let's start a notification channel. So to start a notification channel, I'll have to create a notification channel instance. I'll call it channel, new notification channel. What it needs is, first thing that it needs is its notification channel name. So I'm going to say this is the channel name. Next, it needs a name, so I can just create a name here. I can say string name equal to hi notification. Can be anything that you feel like. So I'm going to say that's what I want to use, name. And the next thing that we need is the importance of this notification. So for that, I can always say notification manager dot importance. So I can use importance high. It's pretty good. I'm gonna leave it, move it here so we can see everything in one single. I'm gonna move this a little bit to the left, close this, so we just focus on the code. So I created my channel. Next thing is I want to add a description to this channel too. So I'm gonna add description channel dot, oh, I need to say set description, just like this. I'm going to create a description here, call it I am a notification, let's say that, and I'm going to give this description here. Now I have that set up. Now I need to create an instance of that notification manager, the property that we've created. Now I'm going to create so I'm going to get the notification manager by accessing the system service, and the name of the service is context dot, make sure context is there. Okay, context is there, dot notification service, and that should get me. Okay, let's see what the error is. Okay, I need to cast it, make sure it casts to notification manager, so that is done. Next, I'm going to check if this notification manager does exist or not. So I'm going to say if it's not equal to null, then I'm going to say notification manager dot create notification channel. This one actually creates the channel that I provide. So notification manager will create my channel with this particular name, and now to this channel anybody can keep on sending messages that they want. Now I want the message or fire this notification right over here. So in this particular code I'm going to say first step is creating a, let's say, notification message. So I'm going to go ahead and add a notification message by saying notification dot messaging style dot message. This is my message, and this message is new notification dot messaging style dot message, and inside this, let's say the first thing that comes is what is the message that you want to give. So I'm going to say I am a notification. The first thing. Second thing that it needs is, okay, it should pop up automatically and tell me what it needs, is the date time. So it's not giving me the information right now, just trying to figure out why, but if it doesn't, I can still, since I know the, I'm going to say get me the current time, which is, because I want the notification to fire immediately. So that's what I can say. You have to make sure I import this class. Okay, that's fine. And then last thing is I need to give it a name. So I'm going to give it a name, the sender. Okay, finally it came up. Text is this and sender. So I'm going to just give a random name, or I can just use my name. So Vivian here. So that's the message that I want to show inside the notification. Next thing is, next thing that I need to do is I'm going to have to create a notification with the message that I have. So for that I can create a notification, call it notification, new notification. Now to create this we use the notifications use builder design pattern. So I can say notification dot builder and provide and build this particular notification. So I'm going to say in this particular context, that's the first thing that it needs. Second thing that it needs is the channel where I want to send it, which is this channel is where I want to send this notification. So I have that. I can set some more parameters, like set what is the icon that I need for this. So the icon that I want in this particular case is, do I have an icon? I'll just use whatever is provided to me by the basic. So I can use background, foreground, this background one for there. I'm going to say set style. I can set a particular style. I can say new notification dot messaging style. I can give it a name. Let's say user display name. I can say, let's give my name, and then I can, to this particular message, I can add a message. This particular style I can add a message, and that message is whatever I created before. So that's what I give here, and then at the end I'm going to say build. I always forget to add build to it, and then it causes problem and I never see it. And now I can tell my notification manager, can you notify me of that with, I can give a unique ID. So if the same notification exists, it's not going to give a notification, or else you can keep on incrementing this. And what is my notification? This is my notification. So this should fire a notification with this particular channel. Let's see if this works. Let's go ahead and save everything, and I'm going to say run the application. Let's say it's building it. Looks like it's successful, and I have, if you look above, there is no notifications right now other than connect to Wi-Fi. So I can say notify, and if you see Vivian, I am a notification. So that's the message that came up with that particular sender name, and if you pull it down, you'll see that notification right over there. It also uses that background image that I've used, but looks like it doesn't show up properly, so I'm gonna use the foreground image. That's what I have available, and I'm gonna run it again just to see if it works with that image. It should look a little different. Go there, and if you see, it has that small Android guy over there. Can pull it down, you see that icon over there. that's what it shows me. If I can increase the size, maybe to show you better than this, the foreground image that we see with the name of the application, the sender, and what the notification is actually. So that's my entire notification. If you click on this particular notification, the application opens up. So that's the notification. So now we've added the notification. Next thing that we'll do is we'll make sure that it works. Again, before you even do anything else, you can always check your Gradle settings and make sure that it's Android P and not anything older, or whatever we do next will not work. Notification with image. In the previous section, what we did was we created a simple notification, we displayed it to the user, it was working perfectly. Now next thing that we want to do is something that belongs to Android P or added in Android P is adding an image to the notification. So we already have our application, it runs perfectly. When I run it, I see the notification displayed, perfect. You can go here and make sure clear all the notifications, it will remove everything. And let's go ahead and then add a couple of images. So first thing that I want to do is add a couple of images to my drawable. Go and select project, open it, go to the application, src, main, resources, drawable. So I can just have a couple of images. I have randomly downloaded this image, Mario image, thank you to whoever this is, and this image is a PNG image, and next one is my own image from my website. I've added these images. I'm going to use these two images for my application. I just drag and drop them. So I have Mario and Vivian Arana. So I have both the images added to my drawable folder. Once I have that, I am going to next is use these images for my notification. So the next step that I'm going to do in this particular section is go to my fire notification, and I'm going to use something that is new, a person class which is part of notification. So I'm going to say notification dot person. Again, if this person doesn't show up, you'll probably want to go back to your manifest file. You just go back there. So you can go to your manifest file and then sorry, not manifest file, your Gradle build file, and see if Android P is selected. So I'm going to go back, take my notification person. I'm going to create a new instance of person, and I am going to say new notification person dot set. I want to set a name for this. So it's kind of used for the sender. Instead of this part, we can use a person now. Instead of sender, we can use a person. Set name. So I'm going to use that same name, Vivian dot set icon, and for this icon, I'm going to say icon dot create with resource context, which is this, and say r dot drawable dot, I'm going to use Mario this time since I have that icon, and I'm going to take that person, and instead of using this sender here, I'm going to say person. So that's what I'll use. So this person is the sender right now. So that's something that is new in Android P. So that's the first part. The next thing that I want to do is when I'm sending the notification here, or the message that I'm setting here, I'm going to say message dot set data. Before even doing that, let's look at how this changes the application, just in case if it does work or not. So let's run this, and when I run this application, it's exactly same. It built successfully, notify. Now if you look at it, the icon of Mario is displayed here. So that's the difference between the previous and new one. Now when I add an image inside the body of the message, it will remove the message from here and then just add. That's I don't know if it's a bug or something that is new in P. You can either send an image or you can send text, or maybe something that they're working on which will be available in future. But let's go ahead, clear this, and go to my message, and then inside my message I can say set data. What do I want is I want to add an image to it, and my image MIME type is image slash JPEG, since I'm going to use my image over there, and I need to pass a URI here. So I'm going to create a URI. Now I don't have that, so I'm going to create a URI to the path of my image file, which is my image. I'm going to say URI equal to URI dot parse, and it needs a URI string. So what I'm going to do is create a string path. I'm going the reverse order, equal to let's use string.format to format the entire URL to that particular image file. So inside this I'm gonna say percentage string colon slash slash percentage s slash percentage s, so that's the content, and percentage s. I'm going to explain you what I'm doing here. So this is more like the URL where this particular application is, which package it is, which particular folder it is. So I have to specify everything. Now to get its initial percentage s, which is the protocol, I have to say content resolver dot scheme android resource. So since it's a resource file, I'll have to specify that. Next one, the first part is the package name for that particular resources. So I'm going to say get resources dot get resource package name, and the package name is r dot drawable dot my package name in this, the image name is Vivian Arana, so that's what I want, comma. The next one is the drawable type name. So I'm going to say get resources resources dot get resources type name. Let's copy this. So type as it, and the last one is get resources dot get resource entry name. So what is the entry of this particular, so I can get that from there, and close this. Let's see if everything is right. Yep. And I'll take this path and pass it to this URI. So it will take this entire string format string and then convert it into a URI. I can always hard code this, saying that the particular application name, package name, everything, and but it's better to use this if you just let the system decide. I have my MIME type and this. So everything looks set here. So let's go ahead and run this application. Let me make sure it's saved. Run app, and when I run this application, it's successful. Let's see, there's no notifications right now. I'm gonna click on notify button, and if you see, the image is part of it. If I open it, you'll see it has this nice animation where it goes from top. It's gonna go away and displays the image there. Let's see it again. So I'm gonna just go and clear it first. So this is the notification, but if I pull it down, you'll see that it kind of enlarges this. The text is gone, but that's what we get. So this is how you can add your notifications, create a notification that you used to create before with your custom images that you have inside the application. Image decoder for bitmaps and drawables. So in Android P, we have something new called as image decoder. What it does is, according to the documentation, it helps you a modernized approach for decoding images, and we'll see that in a project by creating this. And so one of this section is kind of dedicated to looking at image decoder and also using animation. Even though some of the animation doesn't work in the initial version of the Pixel emulator, you can probably try your luck. Maybe by the time they come up with the next version or next Canary version, it might work. So let's start with the project. So let's start a new Android Studio project. I'm gonna call it image decoder app. The rest of the stuff looks fine. Next, Android 8. I'm gonna start with an empty application this time. Finish, and I have my application ready. Now I'm gonna put my image asset inside this. So I'm gonna just create assets folder, and to create asset folder, what you can do is you can say new. Okay, wait 1 second. Again, let's start it one more time. It was still setting up the project. You can say folder and assets folder, and I'm going to say okay in the main folder. Now when I open this, I'll see an asset folder with nothing inside it. So I have already an image available. I'm going to drag and drop this inside here. And there you go, one more time. Okay, what I have to do is go in the project side and app. Since that was Android representation, it doesn't let me add that. So I have assets folder, move it, drag and drop. Okay, so my image is available right there. Now next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to set up an image view. So I'm going to go inside the activity main, remove this text view, go to design mode, zoom in a little bit so I can see this. I can reduce this thing, I don't need that. We zoom in a little bit more, go and add my image view right here. It's going to ask me what image do I want. I can just select an image just to see how it looks like. I can just say okay, this is what I want to use. Okay, I don't have to give a source, but just in case I'm going to move it all the way to the top, maybe a little bit padding. This is a constrained layout anyway, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to take this, give it some constraints, take this, move it some constraints on both right left. It kind of tells you that this is the gap that I want to leave, up, below, top, right, all the things. So now I have this, I can run this project. I don't want any source, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and remove this, because I'm going to do that programmatically. Call this image view, that's fine. I can run this project, let's say pixel 2, I already have that running, and it will bring up that project here in this. It will install the application and bring it up. It's actually building still. So while it's building, let's go and write some code on the activity. Gonna go here, I'm just running it so that it kind of builds it and then sets it up, so we have everything ready. Let's reference that image view. So image view equal to find view by id dot image view. So let's get access to that object. So I have that access to the object. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to set the drawable for this particular image view. Set image drawable. Now what it needs in this particular case is a drawable object. So I'm going to create a drawable. So what I'm going is I'm going in a reverse order. So I'm going to say drawable equal to, so I'm going to use the image decoder class that is available to me, and I'll say decode a particular drawable, and I have to provide the source for it, and in here I'm going to give the drawable. So where will I get this source? So let's create a source object. So the source object is nothing but of the type image decoder dot source class, where can say source, which is the exact name as this is what I want, and inside this I'm going to say image decoder dot create source, and I'm going to create a byte buffer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an input stream and get the image and then fill it, put it inside the byte buffer, and then provide it to this guy. So I'm going to say, let's say buffer. Now where is my object? There's no object. So I'm going to start now. Since I already have this code, I'm going to comment this out. So this is what I want to do. I want to create an input stream equal to get assets. So my folder, which is the assets folder, from there I want to open the file which is my name. So I'm going to say vivinarana.jpg. That's my file that I want. Now as soon as I do this, it's going to give me some warning, and thing that I need to do is I need to surround this with try catch, just in case it fails to get this object. I'm going to put this inside a bracket here. So I'm going to say try to do this, and if you are able to do this, what I want to do is I want to get let me read the input stream. So I'm going to say input stream dot read, and what it needs is the bytes that I need to read. So I'm gonna create an bytes array, byte array bytes equal to, I'm gonna say new byte array, and this array is as big as the size of this particular image. So I can get the size by saying get in size equal to input stream dot what's available. So that will give me what is coming up, and I pass this to this guy and then read this bytes. So this is what will read my object. Now I can take a byte buffer object, byte buffer, create a buffer. This is for what we need here. So I'm going to create a buffer object, and this buffer byte buffer, I need to pass the input or the bytes that I created, that say bytes. So this has that. Now I can take this code and move it up here. So uncomment this. Let's make sure this is all aligned properly. So I have the image decoder, then I have this image here, and I set the image. Let me see if the application is already running from before. Now I need to display this image over there. So I have my image reader, everything looks fine here. Let's run this application and see if I'm missing something. I'm gonna say run. Build successful, and there you go, the image actually displayed. So this is a much easier way from before, where we don't have to do anything but use the image decoder and decode the image and display it on your application. So this is how image decoder works. Next we'll look at animations. Animated GIF and WebP images. So just like image decoder, there's another class for animated image drawable that we'll look at right now. So in this case, so if you look at that, it says that Android P introduces a new animated image drawable class for drawing and displaying GIF and WebP animated images. Anime works similarly to the animated vector drawable in that all derive the animation of the animated image drawable. So let's see how this particular works. This is exactly what you need to do to make it work. So I'm gonna make like probably a couple of buttons. In my previous video that I made, I can show you. This is GIF that I'm using, and this is another WebP file that I found, and that's what I'm going to use. These are two images that I'm going to try to use, but it will work. It will not work on the emulator. In future videos, I'm going to update this whenever the new release comes out of how it's going to work. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my project that I built before, which was displaying the image. I'm going to go to assets and go add these two files. Okay, there you go, both my files are there, and I'm going to, let's create, just to start and stop the animation, let's add two buttons here. So I'm going to go into design mode. I'm going to add one button, let's say here on the top. Say this button says start. Then I'm going to add one more button here. Call this button stop. Give them names before I set the constraints. I'm going to call it start button. Call the second button stop button. Okay, both of them are there. Give them some constraints. Make sure that this constraint, or let's start with this one. So this is how much, this is here. Be this much far away from this guy. Will be, just add this right now. Take this one, let's move it a little bit to the left. So go up, go right, take this much far. This one, let's say that you are right here, right below this image. You can be a little bit to the left. You can be exactly same. Okay, somewhat similar. You got the idea what I'm trying to do. I can just run this application and see how these buttons render. Let's go to the project. See, and my start stop button, they don't do anything right now. Let's add some code. So first of all, let's go back to our main activity and access those buttons. Just like image view, I'm going to just create here button start button equal to find view by id r dot id dot start button, and I'm going to copy paste this one more time, and instead of start I'm going to say stop button. Okay, so I have both my buttons available. I'm going to add some functions. Start button dot set on click listener new view dot. Okay, so I have that for the start button. Do the same thing for stop button. Okay, I have both my functions available. I'm going to say, instead of writing the function here, I'm going to say start animation, implement this method, create method, inside outside, stop animation, another one, go and say create method, okay, start animation, stop animation. I have both my buttons available. Now to set that image as a animated image drawable. So I'm going to go outside and I'm going to say animated image drawable. I'm going to call it, let's say, Winnie the Pooh, or I can also say Earth, whichever. But I'm going to just use Winnie the Pooh, which is the name of my character here. Go here and change this image to Winnie dot web p5. So we're going to try to render that image, it's try to draw that image, it might not work, and next I'm going to say if drawable, let's comment this right out because set this up, if drawable instance of, if the drawable file is of the type, let's say animated image drawable, which it is, here I am going to say that Winnie the Pooh is equal to drawable. I'll have to probably cast it, so there you go. And next, once I have that, when I press the start button, so I've already set that image. Now next I can do is I can say that okay, when we, if let's try some of the code is not equal to null, can say I can start the animation. So for that I can just say Winnie the Pooh dot, this is stop animation, so I'm going to just say stop. Similarly, I can copy this for the start part is not equal to nil start. So there you go, I have both my objects running. I'll still try to run it and see. Previously when I tried it didn't work, but let's try one more time. Have my start, stop, doesn't work. Even if I remove this and set that and try to run it, have no luck of making it work. I know the buttons are working. I've put breakpoints and tried it out, but it still doesn't work. So just the emulator, you can try it on the, I've heard on online forum that if you try it on a real Pixel device, it will work. I don't have one, so I can't test it right now. I just have to wait out for them to give the new emulator. But this is the actual code, and you can always look up on the documentation. That's what they have set it to do to start a particular application, and that's how you can use the new animated image drawable class. Display cutout, or how do we actually display a cutout or enable the cutout mode in your emulator. Now a lot of devices don't have that, but if in future there's some devices that might come with them and there's a new thing called as display cutout support. And if you say this is how the cutout looks like, it's for the front facing camera, the it's for mostly edge to edge screens. So in future most of the screens will be edge to edge, and the front camera and speakers will might be behind this cutout, and that's something that you need to support with. And you've probably seen recently with iPhone X, which is not an Android device, but they're coming up with something like that. And also with Android devices, they will be having these kind of devices coming out in future. So how do we make sure that we test our applications for these cutouts? So it mostly does everything for you. I'm just going to create a new project to store it with an application. And just call it hello cutout. Create the application. Make a simple basic application and say finish. Run this, let it simmer a little bit and make sure it's built properly. And once it's done, I'm going to run this application, this particular device. Okay, see, let's go this, we don't need this right now. Once it runs, installs the application, it will open up. It's still building the application, and there we go. So there's no cutout on this particular device. If you see the status bar, the application has properly. So just to simulate the notch or the cutout, what you can do is you go back to your settings inside your device, go to your settings, search for developer options inside system. You'll not see developer options if you're not enabled it. Now to enable developer option, go to about side here, build number. Wherever it says build number, just keep on tapping, and after some time it will say that you need to tap so many times and now you're a developer. So that's how you enable the developer mode in your simulator. Now when I go back and into the system, I'll probably see the developer options displayed over there. I can go there, and still if you look at the status bar, it's pretty tiny. You can go all the way to the bottom. There is a section after networking, after input drawing. Inside drawing, at the bottom you'll see simulate a display with a cutout. So I'm going to go there. These are different options that you find. Narrow display cutout, which will, let's see, that's how it looks like. Oops. And I can have a tall cutout, and that's how that looks like. You can have a wide display cutout, looks like this, and accordingly your device will have support for that. But what about your application? So I can go back and let's look at our application. Okay, right here. That's not here. The next one, right here. And you'll see your application automatically supports it, but your screen size becomes smaller. So how do you support that? So for that, there's a display cutout class that is available, which we'll look in the next session. So this is how you can support a display cutout or kind of simulate the display cutout inside your application. Display cutout class. Now there is a display cutout class which kind of helps you while programming to kind of dynamically use the cutout on the top of the screen to do different things. Now it's not working properly in the preview version, but this is the actual class definition of it. You can actually see what is it, if what kind of display cutout it is, get the bounds of it, check different things that are available from this particular thing. And there's a small project that I've built which will help you kind of look at what type of display cutout it is, and based on that what you can do with it. So it's kind of part of the layout parameters in the Windows Manager that lets you do this, where you can check different types, like layout in display cutout mode always, or maybe it's default mode, or never use that mode. So you can use these parameters kind of to do different things. I have a project that we built previously which was nothing but an empty application. If I run this, see, this is the hello cutout application that I had built, and I can go, and if you remember in the settings, we can set the display cutout mode. I can have different types of display, like this one. Let's have a wide display. That's the one that I like. Come on, show me. If it doesn't show up, you can just go back, developer options. I'm not sure why it didn't take the size. Let's look at it one more time. You can go to a display cutout wide, and that's what we selected. Let's go back and try to power off, power on. Okay, there you go. Sometimes you just put it to sleep and bring it back up. It works perfectly. Let's run this application one more time, and we should see that application with the bigger status bar, application up there. Let's go and add this code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all these options and things. I'm going to get rid of my floating action bar. I'll keep rest of the stuff as it is. Text view, I'm going to remove this, because instead of this I'm going to add a button to test which type of mode it is. I'm going to drag and drop a button. Let's add a button, give it its constraints all around, so it doesn't give me a error or warning. I'm going to give all of them, but there you go. I have it. It's centered. Have this button. I'm going to call this show mode, of what mode it's using. That's done. Go back, and it's the button. I'm going to go back here, and I can get rid of the floating options, and here I can say that let's get the button be equal to find view by ID, r.id.button. So I have my button available here. I'm gonna import the different different types of layout parameters that I have for cutout, and I can just say, oops, not here, go above, import, and static, can say under Android dot view dot window manager dot layout parameters dot layout in display cutout mode, never, default, and always. So these are three of them. I can use them 3 times. Mode default and mode always. So I have all the 3 imported. So once they are part of this, now it's gonna say not used. I can always optimize my imports. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'll do this later once I have my code available. Then I can say for set on click listener new view dot on click listener, say can say show mode. It's the function I can write. Implement this method main activity. Now inside here I'm going to check, I'm going to get the window manager layout parameters params equal to I'm going to say get my window attribute and get attributes from there. So get window and then get attributes. So it's going to give me all the attributes of the layout parameters. I can say show me the, let's say, cut out mode that I'm using, params, the parameters dot the function that you need is layout in display cutout mode. So what is the mode that I use? I'm going to say string mode. The mode that I'm currently in is null, and I can write a switch statement here, say what is the cutout mode, and based on this I can say layout in display mode always. If it's always, I can say mode is always. I can always use if else if I want, in this case break, but I like switch whenever there's more than 2 cases, and say second one and third one for always. Then we have default, say default, and the next one is never, and I am going to say never. So I have all my 3 modes defined, and depending on what it is, let me just show a toast message. In this context is this some string to display. I'm gonna say cutout mode is plus mode, and the last one is what do I want to display, length, doesn't matter, dot show, and this will show me what mode I'm using for this particular application. I can run this inside my application. Hope it works. I've set up everything properly, I assume. Let's go back. Let's see, and I have my button. When I click on this, it will say cutout mode default. So that's what it shows right now. In future, as in when we have more attributes, or more when they fix these things, we can probably look at some more options and look for updates. As soon as that thing works, I'm gonna add these updates, and then you'll see more of these cutout modes. So that's it for cutout mode, and it is pretty fancy because in future we'll have edge to edge. There'll be no other things available, and this part, the cutout, will be used for either for speakers, the phones, everything. So you'll have full screen displays. So that's what this is very helpful for. So what's next? Where can we go from here? So first of all, congratulations on completing this course. Next thing that I would recommend is keep an eye open on Android P features and APIs that they come up with. I'll also try to update my videos here with the new features that come up, but keep an eye out on this. And if you can, I've not done indoor positioning with Wi-Fi RTT here because it says needs special type of RTT capable Wi-Fi access points, which I don't have right now, and they can use for indoor navigation. It can be quite a project or innovation per project if you guys are planning to work on that. And so just keep your eye open out here and see there's nothing else to do for Android P since it's brand new and developer preview version. So all you can get information is right here. You can look at some release notes that they have provided of what's new, anything that catches your eye. And if you have any feedback or anything about this course, please let me know in comments. If I'm missing something, can update me on this particular course with comments. Thank you.